In the capital city of Ouagadougou, something powerful unfolded on July 30th, 2025, a movement not of violence, but of voice. From the early morning hours, citizens of all ages and backgrounds came together in unity, their mission clear, to seek justice for one of their own. The air was thick with emotion as they gathered at the symbolic Thomas Sankara Memorial, a place that holds the legacy of resistance and African dignity, and from there, they began a solemn yet determined march toward the Embassy of Côte d'Ivoire. Their cause? The mysterious and heartbreaking death of Alain Christophe Traoré, known affectionately as Alino Faso. According to authorities in Ivory Coast, he passed away on their soil. But for the people of Burkina Faso, this wasn't just a death. It was a national wound, a blow to their dignity. And worse still, they felt denied the right to bury one of their own with honor. As the demonstrators made their way through the streets, their chants cut through the noise of the city. Cries of "Ado terrorist," "Ado assassin," and "Justice for Alino Faso" rang out with raw intensity. They didn't march with weapons or aggression. They marched with pain and purpose, demanding answers and accountability. At the gates of the Ivorian Embassy, they stopped. There, representatives from the CNAVC, the National Coordination of Citizen Watch Associations, read a public statement, delivering both their grievances and their expectations with calm determination. Ghislain Dabiré, the Secretary General of CNAVC, took center stage. As he handed the statement to embassy officials, he addressed the press and the people with clarity. He began by describing the close relationship between Burkina Faso and Ivory Coast, comparing them to a home where one is the bedroom and the other is the living room, inseparable and intimate. But, he emphasized, even close neighbors can inflict harm. And what happened to Alino in Ivory Coast, in his words, was simply unacceptable. He expressed the deep disappointment many Burkinabè feel. Ivory Coast has long presented itself as a country guided by law and justice. Yet, in the case of Alino Faso, those ideals seem to have been ignored. Dabiré questioned how justice could be claimed when a Burkinabè national dies in unclear circumstances and his body is not returned to his homeland. The main demand was clear and simple: return the body of Alino Faso. According to the CNAVC, Ivorian authorities had stripped Alino of his Ivorian nationality. But for the Burkinabè people, his identity as one of theirs remained sacred. Ghislain Dabiré emphasized that no government or border could erase Alino's blood ties to Burkina Faso. His body still bore that identity, and therefore he deserved to return home and be laid to rest in his native land. This issue wasn't just legal or political. It was cultural, spiritual, and deeply emotional. For many African societies, the burial of the dead is not merely a tradition. It is a sacred duty. To be denied that right, to have a loved one remain beyond reach in foreign soil, is more than an insult. It is a spiritual injury. Dabiré reminded the crowd and the world that Africans understand the value of honoring their dead, and the return of Alino's body is not just a request, it is a duty. He also made it clear that the people of Burkina Faso are not asking for conflict or revenge. They are demanding truth and respect. "We want the body," he declared, "so we can give him the funeral he deserves. One that reflects his place in society, his role in the community, and the love of his family." As he spoke, the weight of the moment was visible on the faces of the protesters. There were no riots, no destruction, only a powerful presence of grief turned into action. In their silence and chants, they held up a mirror to power, reminding leaders that the people still watch, still care, and will still speak up when injustice is felt. Dabiré appealed to the humanity of the Ivorian people, calling on them to remember African customs, values, and what it means to be brothers and sisters across borders. He expressed hope that the Ivorian authorities would understand the magnitude of this request and act accordingly before further discussions become necessary. He warned that unresolved wounds like this can plant bitterness in the hearts of the youth, and that kind of pain is often passed down, creating tensions that could have been avoided through compassion and dialogue. He reminded everyone that Burkina Faso and Ivory Coast have had their differences in the past, but they've always managed to move forward side by side. Yet today, a painful event threatens that harmony. In his words, the worst has happened: a death, an unanswered plea, and a refusal to honor dignity. He challenged the Ivorian government to make things right, not just for Burkina Faso, but for the principle of justice that both countries claim to uphold. For CNAVC, this protest was not the end. It was a beginning, a first step in ensuring that no Burkinabè life is discarded or forgotten, that no citizen dies in mystery without answers, and that dignity is restored not only through words, but through action. As the protest concluded, the group's statement was handed to embassy representatives under the watch of security forces. Even in such a tense setting, the tone remained firm but peaceful. The protesters made it clear, their struggle is for justice, not for chaos. The crowd slowly began to disperse, but the message they delivered remained strong in the air. Bring Alino home. Give him peace. Show the world that African lives are valuable, even in death. As the cameras shut off and the streets quieted, one thing became clear. This was not just about one man. It was about identity, nationhood, and the right of a people to stand up and say, "We will not let our own be forgotten." It was about Africa, about youth demanding a future where justice is not just an ideal but a reality. In a world where so many stories are lost in silence, this one stands as a loud and heartfelt cry for dignity. It reminds us that behind every name is a family, a homeland, and a people who care. Alino Faso may no longer be alive, but his memory has ignited something larger, a sense of responsibility, a movement for respect, and a demand for accountability that can't be ignored. To the authorities in Côte d'Ivoire, the message from Burkina Faso is clear. Return Alino Faso. Let him be buried by his family, in his land, among his people. Do not let bureaucracy and silence bury the truth. Do not let the bonds between two nations be broken by one act of negligence. To the people of Burkina Faso, your voices have shaken walls. Your peaceful protest has spoken louder than any act of aggression could. You have shown that unity and discipline can move nations. And to young people across Africa, the story of Alino Faso is a reminder that your voice matters, that your future is shaped not only by elections or policies, but by your willingness to stand up for truth. As we close this report on Chronicle Update, we encourage dialogue, understanding, and respect between the nations of Africa. Conflicts do not need to escalate. Tensions do not need to divide. With sincerity and humility, all wounds can begin to heal. To our viewers, thank you for watching. If this report touched you, please take a moment to like the video so that YouTube recommends it to others who care about justice and dignity in Africa. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth coverage of the stories that shape our continent. Together, let us raise our voices not in hatred but in hope. For Alino, for justice, for Africa.